The world sleeps under a blanket of stars. In the vast, silent heart of the desert, the night is a deep and unending quiet. The wind whispers softly across the dunes, moving grains of sand in a slow, timeless dance. Far from the distant hum of sleeping towns, the horizon is a clean, dark line drawn against the cosmos. There is nothing here but earth. There is nothing here but sky, a landscape untouched for millennia. Then a change, a subtle shift in the darkness. A faint glow begins to rise, soft and uncertain, where only blackness should be. It is a light without a source, a bloom of impossible color against the void. Slowly, almost hesitantly, the glow intensifies. It does not burn like a fire. It does not pierce the dark like a beacon. Instead, it seems to coalesce, gathering substance from the very air itself. Out of this gentle luminescence, shapes begin to form. They are ethereal at first, like a dream struggling to hold its form upon waking. Towers emerge, slender and impossibly tall, their silhouettes painted in shimmering shades of amber. Streets lay themselves out like ribbons of deep, tranquil blue, structures that seem ancient, structures that seem utterly new. A city materializes from nothingness, a phantom metropolis born in the silent hours before dawn. The apparition stands complete, yet it makes no sound. There is no roar of construction, there is no clamor of life. It is a metropolis of pure light, a silent testament to an event that defies all logic. Its lights do not flicker like man-made electricity. They pulse with a soft, organic rhythm, like the slow breathing of some colossal, sleeping creature. The city hangs suspended between reality and illusion, its brilliant towers etching a new and mystifying skyline against the deep indigo of the fading night. It is a place that should not be, yet there it stands, bathing the empty sands in its mysterious, otherworldly glow. As the first hints of the true dawn begin to streak the eastern sky, the city does not fade. It holds its ground, a solid mirage against the coming day. The blue lights soften, the amber lights soften, but the structures remain, their edges sharpening as the sun's rays touch the desert floor. The quiet miracle of the night has left behind a profound and unsettling truth. Where yesterday there was only sand, where yesterday there was only wind, today there is a city. An entire city, born overnight, waiting silently under the vast and watchful eye of the sky, its sudden existence a question whispered to the awakening world. Beat of silence, low hum swells. The first to see it were the lonely travelers, the drivers navigating the long, straight ribbon of asphalt that cuts through the desert's heart. Their headlights slice through the pre-dawn gloom, the hum of their engines the only sound for 100 miles. One by one they slowed, their vehicles pulling over to the dusty shoulder of the road. They stared out across the expanse, their minds struggling to process the impossible vision before them. There, shimmering in the distance, was a city. It wasn't on any map. It wasn't in any travel guide. It was simply there. A collective sense of awe, disbelief rippled from one car to the next, a shared moment of profound wonder. They stepped out of their cars, the sudden silence of the desert amplifying the strangeness of the moment. A cool air, distinct from the dry desert breeze, seemed to emanate from the distant glow. They reached for their phones, fumbling to capture the sight. The resulting photographs are grainy and indistinct, blurred by low light and trembling hands. In these images, the city appears as a spectral presence. Trembling lights, foggy towers, rippling like a heat mirage. Its blue hues, its amber hues bleed into the darkness, forever capturing the mystery of that first contact. Each witness, though isolated, later told matching accounts. They spoke of the initial light, a soft, warm amber. Then the structures emerged, rising into the sky with graceful speed. It wasn't construction, it was an appearance, like a veil lifting. They spoke of a feeling, ancient, powerful, immense, and unknowable. The story spread like a slow, creeping fog through truck stops, roadside diners, and crackling radios, until the long highway turned into a path of pilgrimage. Asphalt, gasoline, meeting the edge of an inexplicable mystery. The city had appeared not just in the desert, but in the minds of all who heard its story. Drawn by an irresistible curiosity, a few brave souls ventured from the safety of the road. A farmer from a nearby settlement, his face weathered by a lifetime under the sun, walked toward the glow that had disturbed his flock. As he drew closer, a strange hush descended, a deep silence that seemed to absorb all sound. The air grew heavy, it carried the scent of thunderstorms and the scent of cool metal. He felt a low, persistent hum, not heard, but felt deep in his chest, like a storm that never breaks. He walked for what felt like miles, the glowing city a constant, shimmering beacon. It seemed to keep its distance, an optical illusion that never became real. He raised a hand, hoping for warmth or energy, but the air stayed cool and still. Pristine sand stretched to the edge of the luminous glow. He looked back, his footprints the only marks on the dune. No tracks, no signs of construction, no indication anything had crossed this terrain. In the days that followed, others found strange objects at the city's periphery. Small, easily missed treasures half buried in the sand. A shard of thin, glass-like material, light as a feather but impossibly strong. A small, shell-shaped object resembling a coin, smooth and cool. A strip of dark metal etched with swirling marks like no known script. These artifacts were passed around, examined with reverence and confusion. They were taken to labs. Scientists began analysis. Reports came back, and the mystery deepened. The glass was a crystalline structure they couldn't identify. The metal was an alloy of simple and common elements, yet light and impossibly strong. It resisted corrosion and showed no signs of aging. The objects were real proof something had been there, but they offered only more questions. Souvenirs from a dream, reminders of a place perhaps never meant to be touched. The phenomenon, initially believed to be a singular, overnight event, soon revealed deeper and more perplexing roots. As news of the Phantom City spread, it stirred old memories and unearthed forgotten records. An elderly man, rummaging through a dusty box of family keepsakes, found a photograph he had taken in the 1970s. It was a faded color snapshot of a desert sunset. But there, almost lost in the grainy texture of the film, was a faint, ghostly outline of towers on the horizon. For decades, he had dismissed it as a lens flare or a trick of the light. But now, seeing it again, he knew he had captured an earlier visitation. His story prompted others to look into their own pasts. More old photographs began to surface, a scattered and unintentional archive of the city's fleeting appearances. A family vacation photo from the 1980s showed the city as a faint amber smudge in the background of a smiling portrait. A geologist's aerial survey from the 1990s, intended to map rock formations, inadvertently captured a pale blue shimmer in a corner of the frame, an anomaly that had been noted and dismissed at the time. The city, it seemed, was not a new arrival. It was a recurring dream, a secret the desert had been keeping for generations. A small team of independent researchers pored over historical maps and satellite data. They scoured decades of aerial surveys and cartographic records, searching for any hint of the city's presence. Official maps showed nothing but barren, undeveloped land, no roads, no power lines, no infrastructure of any kind. Yet one researcher discovered a recurring anomaly, a faint, circular heat signature in the exact location of the sightings, appearing and disappearing with no discernible pattern. The realization that the city had appeared before changed everything. It was no longer just a bizarre, isolated incident, but a long-standing mystery with a history, older, more deliberate. It suggested a cycle, a pattern of appearances and disappearances hidden in plain sight. Each photo, each data point was another piece of the puzzle. The city was not a static monument, it seemed to possess a life of its own. Witnesses who observed it over several nights reported that it was in a constant state of subtle transformation. It would remain brilliantly illuminated for days on end, a beacon in the wilderness, and then, without warning, it would simply vanish. The horizon would return to its empty, natural state, leaving observers to question their own sanity. But then, a few nights later, the amber glow would return, the blue glow would return, and the city would be reborn. More unnervingly, the city never returned in exactly the same configuration. Its architecture was fluid, its layout seemingly subject to change with each appearance. Towers that had once stood on the eastern edge would reappear in the center. Streets once straight and orderly would now curve in elegant, unfamiliar patterns. It was as if the city was being perpetually redesigned. Perhaps not one city, but infinite variations, each appearance offering a different glimpse into its nature. This constant flux made it impossible to map, impossible to understand, a living blueprint that refused to be fixed in time or space. Those who dared to get close experienced even stranger phenomena. Time itself seemed to warp in the city's presence. One explorer who spent a night camped near its perimeter found that his digital watch had frozen while his analog compass spun uselessly. He spoke of seeing what looked like clock faces on some of the towers, but they bore no hands, only smooth, blank surfaces. Others reported a strange sense of temporal dislocation. Hours felt like minutes, minutes stretched into an eternity. The city existed outside the normal flow of time. Its influence rippled outward, disrupting the very measurements by which we define our reality. The sensory distortions extended beyond time. A woman who walked to the very edge of the light felt a wave of dizziness and disorientation wash over her. She heard a faint whispering sound carried on the wind, a noise like radio static, mixed with hushed, overlapping voices speaking names she did not recognize. Cameras and other electronic devices frequently failed in proximity to the city, batteries draining in an instant, memory cards wiping clean. Yet, simple audio recorders sometimes worked, capturing a low rhythmic hum, a pulse that scientists later analyzed and found to have a complex repeating pattern, almost like a slow, mechanical language.
Soft breath, low pulse continues.
In the face of such an overwhelming mystery, humanity responded as it always does, with fear, with fascination, with bureaucracy. Governments grew aware of the reports. They dispatched covert teams to investigate. Scientists, soldiers, took samples, recorded data, filed reports, shrouded in secrecy. Their findings were never released, notes classified and buried in secure archives. This official silence only fueled the public's imagination. Strange lights in the desert transformed into a grand conspiracy. Away from the corridors of power, the city blossomed into a cultural phenomenon. It became a modern myth, a symbol of the unknown in a mapped world. Musicians composed haunting melodies. Artists painted amber and blue canvases. It became a metaphor, hope, discovery, a final frontier hidden on Earth. For some, a sign of benevolent visitors. For others, a chilling omen. But for all, a source of profound and unending wonder. The desert itself has been forever changed. The once empty stretch now pulls seekers and dreamers. At a certain mile marker, travelers stop their cars. They gaze at the empty horizon, faces lit by the setting sun. They leave small offerings, piles of smooth stones, melted candles, handwritten notes. They speak in low, reverent voices, sharing stories and theories, united by the shared mystery. Ultimately, no one has the answer. Grainy photographs, unidentifiable artifacts, eerie sound recordings, witnesses' sincere contradictory words. These pieces form a mosaic that defies a single explanation. We do not know why the city appears, where it comes from. what its purpose might be. We can only continue to watch, to listen, and to wonder. The desert waits, patient and silent. The glow may return, or it may not. When the city last faded into the quiet sand, it left the world holding its breath.